I read through your documents. You're raising $2 million in debt.
Yep.
And what do we get for that?
Well, we've raised $810,000 on a convertible note in New Zealand. There's a few issues, just to be really clear. We can't change the structure of the company in the US because I'm on a visa that's based on the structure in the US. If we change the structure, I have to change the visa, which is achievable, but that's the reason we've gone for a debt crowdfund here. So we raised 810,000 New Zealand on a convertible note, which was 8% optional conversion in 3 years, in the New Zealand company, which owns 100% of the US company. The opportunity is to invest in either the New Zealand or the US company, depending on the appetite of the investors. We are raising debt in the US for that reason, and we thought we'd try a crowdfund campaign because there's a community of B Corps and socially aware impact investors who aren't accredited investors. So that's where we've gone. So the short answer is I'm open to suggestions. When we decided to do the pitch, I knew that would be the first question, and I knew that I wouldn't have the first answer. But I mean, we have a New Zealand company. Just as an aside, if somebody wanted to invest 3 million New Zealand dollars, which is about $2 million US dollars, you can apply for a residence visa in New Zealand. So if anyone's feeling like changing countries, that's another opportunity. It's open to anybody, by the way.
So Steve, you did a great job telling me what was bad about the other glove.
Yep.
And I don't really understand your glove. Is it a daily disposable? Is it reusable? What's the strategic advantage of using the old versus the new?
It's a good question. One of the issues we found when we came here is that this vinyl glove is being used widely, and it's made thick and heavy because it's weak. It's a PVC, so it's exactly the same as a PVC pipe that you're using in your house, except they add 50% of chemicals to make it soft. The chemicals are on the Prop 65 list in California. Japan doesn't let you touch food with them, and so it surprised us the amount that we used here. And it's a shame on our industry, the glove industry, that they're not telling the food industry that there's issues with it. They're full of phthalates, and you may have heard that there's now kids who eat a lot of takeaway food. In a study that was done in New York, they have high level of endocrine disruptors, which are from the phthalates, and so this is from PVC and plastic products. And I'm sure there's people who would dispute that, but that's the way we go. So what we've done, there's been huge amounts of technological advancement in gloves, believe it or not, over the last 10 or 15 years. The AIDS epidemic started the use of gloves everywhere, and then the technologies evolved from latex through to nitriles. So our glove is simply a better glove. It's a better engine, if you like, and what it does, so the average vinyl glove that we're supplying our biggest customer, the big box food service, food retailer, they've gone from a 5.2 grams, I'm not sure what that is in imperial, sorry, but a 5.2 gram glove to a 3 gram glove. So straight away they're saving £1 million of waste a year just by doing that. There's no habit change. The second thing they're doing, we got them to test us, they didn't believe it, but we got them to test the gloves when they put them on. We said you're losing 15 to 25% in rips. They didn't believe us, so they did trials in 8 locations around the country, and they were losing closer to 25%. So 1 in 4 gloves was ripping when the user put it on and they threw it away. So our glove is not particularly special. It's not recyclable or biodegradable. There are opportunities coming up in that space, but it's just a better glove. And nobody, I guess, believe it or not, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, yeah, it's the glove guy coming. So no one's looking at this product, and that's our unique approach. We're telling people about this and starting to get some headway.
So is this your glove that you developed, or are you a distributor for another manufacturer?
We have factories in Malaysia, Thailand, Taiwan, China, and Europe for different products, and we specify the product that they give us. So it's our brand. It's not our factories, but it's our brand. We've gone to what we think are really good factories in terms of all the aspects: good quality, good people, good labour rights, all that sort of thing.
So you gave them the design.
Yeah.
Make this glove for me. Here's what I want it made of.
Yeah, we have a specification. I could tell you it if you'd like, but it's nitrile 3 gram glove. It's 3 mils thick, which is a mil is 1,000th of an inch, and it's just. There's lots of good things about it. We can put 200 in a box that normally holds 100, so the freight is halved, carbon emissions are halved. If everybody in the US started using that glove, we'd stop 4,000 containers, shipping containers coming into the country every month. And that's part of our whole B Corp certification, is this going right from the factory to the end user. How can we lessen the impact of a product that you can't exchange at the moment for any other option?
So one is, how long have you been selling the glove for?
12 years.
So over the course of 12 years of selling it, you've gotten the business up to $2 million in revenue?
No, in the US it's just got to 2 million. We've been here 2 years. In New Zealand it's around close to 7 million, and it's an established business. We supply around 80% of the primary food industry in New Zealand. New Zealand's got 4 million people. It's like, what do we do next?
Right. And so then, is your glove a lot more expensive?
No. We convinced this customer to move from a $15 a thousand glove to a $23 a thousand glove, and that's why the wastage is so important. So per month their costs haven't really gone up, but per glove there's a few cents dearer, $6 dearer a thousand gloves. So it's more expensive on the front but less expensive, and they're saving £1 million of waste having to get rid of that. And
so the value proposition is it's going to cost you 53% more for my gloves, but they're going to last longer, and
Yep.
You're going to have less kind of eco damage of some sort.
Yeah, and better for the environment ultimately, and better for food safety.
So if US regulations change and PVC gloves are outlawed like there are, I think you said in Japan, what prevents the guys that are selling 3 billion gloves a day or a year or whatever here just to move into this product? Is there anything proprietary what you have other than
there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that's proprietary, which I can talk about it in a minute, but the main thing that stops people is mindset. The biggest
but not regulation changes, because then you don't have a mindset you have to change, right?
But they'll still go and buy the cheapest possible glove they can buy. They can't get there. It's like they're stuck in a record. And so they'll go to China because they have cheaper nitrile gloves than Malaysia where we get them. They'll get the cheapest ones and they'll still lose 10 or 15% in wastage, and there'll be some other issues potentially.
So it's really a sales game for you then. You have to convince them that your more expensive glove is better for them overall versus what they're used to doing.
Yeah, and that's where we've had some success.
Gotcha.
I guess the other thing we're doing, just to add to that, is we're working with a microbiologist who's known as a hand glove guru, which is probably better than the glove guy, but he has done a lot of work on surface. It's too hard to explain, but basically he's found that our glove is 3 times less likely to transfer bacteria than other gloves. And this is based what he calls a Teflon-like surface. And this is not something we did deliberately, but we're doing all the science in the background. Because the other thing is that, and I'll be careful how I say this, the gloves are a perfect vehicle for something bad. And so what we do is we go to the factories, we find the standard glove, we do various tests including gas chromatography, and electrospectrum stuff, and we produce a fingerprint for every glove we buy. And when the glove arrives in the US, we check every lot to make sure it's the same, so there's no bacteria or anything on the glove. There's nothing been added to the mix that may be bad, for example some sort of powder that people don't want. And there's huge opportunity for that in the food industry, for that contamination by disgruntled workers or some other person who wants to do something. So there's all these sort of things we offer in the background. Are they valuable? We think they are, and that's our job to convince people.
So are we correct in understanding that your end user is only in the food industry, not the medical?
No, we sell to the medical in New Zealand, and we sell to half the dentists in medical dentists in New Zealand, and a number of aged care, not so much in the hospitals because they're government contracts which we haven't been involved in. The US, we've stuck with food because all our gloves are medical grade, so the gloves we put in the food sector are certified to a medical grade standard. But in the US, you can't put that on the same box as a food grade glove.
Okay, so of your 7 million in sales in New Zealand, how much of that is medical and how much of that is food service?
Around 6 million would be food.
Okay.
It's food processing mostly, meat industry, fish.
And who are those customers? Do you have like a top 5 people that are buying all these gloves, or do you have millions of customers?
Both. We work through 2 major distributors and several other ones in New Zealand. One of them is Office Max, and another one which you won't know is called New Zealand Safety Blackwoods. And they supply the primary food industry, so these are large meatworks, Alliance Meats, Silverfen Farm Meats, Fonterra Dairy Company, which you'll know, Sealord, which is a seafood company. And they make up around 50% of New Zealand's GDP. So they're massive industries because we export a lot. So that's our main customers. We supply around 500 dentists, so they're smaller, and we do that via e-commerce mostly, except for the bigger ones.
So, last question. When I went to a Mod Pizza restaurant last week, they were making the pizzas and they were all wearing gloves. My server changed his gloves 3 times while making the pizza because it was gluten-free and all this and that.
Yeah.
How can they justify the expense of your glove if they're having to change them often?
I guess it's like a lot of inputs they'll have, and we have this discussion a lot. It's the opportunity, risk or cost. So if he is using a cheaper glove and he changes it and his sweat with all this bacteria comes off and goes on your thing, he hasn't washed his hands well in the toilet, so you get some nice E. coli, get sick or die. What does that do to the business? So I guess it's for us, it's an insurance policy for them. Yeah. So.
How long have you been on the journey to raise money? And just with that, are there milestones that you've met, and are there milestones that you have set?
We really, I mean, this is new for us. We've grown the business organically. You can do that in New Zealand over 12 years. We haven't had debt until about 1.5 years ago. So we didn't have to respond to banks. One of the issues we're having is we're having to send all the money from New Zealand to the US. Our dollar's just gone down to 66 cents for a dollar, so that doesn't help things. So we've really just started actively fundraising since probably March or April this year in New Zealand, and we've literally just started in the US with this crowdfund campaign. We haven't approached, I've talked to investors here about how things work. I mean, this is a totally foreign business for me. No one does these things in New Zealand. It's nice and simple, but because everybody knows everybody for one thing. So it is a new experience. Yeah, we've got milestones in terms of finances, do you mean, or in terms of fundraising?
Yeah, as far as your fundraising journey type thing. Like,
well, the first milestone is simply we've closed that convertible note, or just about to close it at 810. That may get to $1 million, but probably will sit at 810 New Zealand. And then we're doing the crowdfunding, and that's, to be honest, as far as we've got.
Okay, Angel Sharks, we have time for one more quick question.
So you mentioned that you guys have done some crowdfunding already. I'm curious about just the structure of the cap table currently.
Well, the crowdfunding, we're raising $1 million through just a platform here called Crowdfund Main Street. When you say cap table, what do you mean?
The percentages of ownership and
Okay.
what that looks like right now.
So I, through a trust, own, so the US company is 100% owned by New Zealand. The New Zealand company is owned 64% by me, or my family trust. And then we have 2 other shareholders, which will change soon, but they own about another 20%. And then there's 2 other staff members we've given shares to make up to the 100. The pre-money valuation in New Zealand was 6 million, and we had an independent valuation done at 8.1 million, but we discounted it because the shareholder we were trying to attract is a local iwi, which is a Maori tribe, and they're predominant, and we just felt the synergies with them and what they're trying to do and what we're trying to do are very similar. So yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question, but
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve Ardagh. Nice job.